You know, you're a full stack marketing expert. You're a keynote speaker. You have your own podcast, of course. Now, before we even talk about, you know, marketing and tactics and whatnot, the juice of marketing, kind of tell us your origin story of how you became an entrepreneur and marketer.
Um, that goes back like way back to whenever I discovered that I could purchase something and then sell it for a profit. Which probably goes back to as far as ever since I've been told, probably age 6, where I discovered that I could sell my old toys to other people, to other kids, or to parents who wanted for their kids or whatever, or just like flipping things, learning from my family. I come from a family of business people, entrepreneurs, and go-getters, and I guess I drew inspiration from all of that. And throughout my elementary, middle school, and high school, I had the opportunity to sell snacks, shirts, bracelets, all types of things that kind of just, kept money in my pocket at that age.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I went to college, I went to school for marketing. I didn't start that way. At first it was pre-med, wanted to be a surgeon, and then life took me in another direction, which was direction that I liked very much. And it was just building brands, building businesses, creating promotions, creating events, promotional material, photos, videos, commercials, all that type of stuff really like drew my attention. And I started working with several companies, and eventually I started my first company, probably like first year of college. It was an events company. So we did car events, car meets, different things like that. And I met a lot of interesting people in that world, and I was able to diversify the projects, the scope of the projects that I worked on, and continued that. Went to school for marketing, started working with different companies, either through consulting or they would pay me retainers, or, just freelance work. And eventually I became inspired to start my advertising agency after being mentored by 2 owners of an agency, and actually being the driver of another agency owner. I was his chauffeur for a bit. That kind of showed me, the possibilities. It showed me that, you could do something as cool as marketing. Well, what I found cool, and make millions of dollars or make billions of dollars like some of these big advertising figures do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, I'm speaking right now about Jordan Zimmerman, who owns Zimmerman Advertising. He has a very successful advertising empire, and that's actually the guy I used to drive around. So I guess it's just I surrounded myself with people who were doing really cool stuff that I looked up to, and I kind of got to see that, there were people too. And as long as I remained consistent and stayed in those circles, I would be able to eventually do business with these people and eventually start doing the things that I wanted to do. And that's exactly what I did.
So what was the next step? At what point did you decide to make your own full stack marketing agency? Because, it's really a service-based business. You can start by yourself, just focus on one aspect of it. But of course, you're not a full stack agency. So what was like the first initial step that you took?
I was by myself, right? Like most people, you'll hear that they started by themselves. And when I decided to start a marketing agency, I had no idea what I was doing, right? I was still going to school. Like I said, I was inspired by people who I saw doing it. So I knew what could be possible, but I was just getting my feet wet. And at that time, Instagram wasn't brand new, but it was that time where not everybody was advertising on Instagram. Now it's 2020, we're going into 2021. Everybody has a social media profile for their business, right?
Mm-hmm.
On Instagram, on Facebook, some TikTok, some not, LinkedIn. When I started the agency, a little bit over 7 years ago, not everybody was on Instagram. So it was difficult it was not difficult, it was challenging to find a business owner who both was organized and also understood the value of digital media platforms. So when I first started out, I had to just sell, what made sense at the moment, which is influencer marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I started out. We weren't full stack. We started off doing branding and influencer marketing deals. And with that came a lot, because I was able to connect with a lot of people. So I would pretty much reach out to brands, ask them to manage their store, manage their Instagram, manage pretty much their promotions. And then I would get shout outs on other big pages, and those pages would shout them out and build the following and, generate sales therefore. And then I started getting recommended, and word of mouth. Then I was able to hire one person, then two, then three, and scaled that up to around 17 at one point throughout multiple offices. Each time bringing new talent on board so I could add to different elements of the business. It wasn't always digital, like straight performance marketing like we are now. We did influencer marketing. We built websites. We did logos. We did the whole thing up and down. And then we realized that most of the profits for us was in performance marketing, running Facebook ads, Instagram ads, YouTube ads, to an extent SEO. SEO has been something that's been really big for us. So we started diversifying. I started educating myself. I started going to seminars. I started taking courses. I started doing all types of things that would give me the knowledge that I needed. And if I didn't have the knowledge, it would give me access to the knowledge that I needed by being able to easily reach out to people that did the things I wanted to do and get my questions answered by them. So it was a process of a few years. You'll see a lot of people, overnight, they did this, 6-7 figures in their agency. And that does exist. And there are people that are doing that. But for the most part, it's just going to take consistency and hard work to continue doing it, because you're going to find out a lot of things about yourself and a lot of things about the business through experience. And so there's only certain things that experience can give you. And you just got to understand that. No matter how fast you want to do things, the more experience you have, the more you're going to have control over what you see, how you perceive it, and how you act towards it. And ultimately that wisdom is what's going to bring you success.
For sure. And now I see you on your Instagram stories, making tens of thousands of dollars for these brands via Facebook ads and whatnot. So you started, of course, with influencer marketing, and then you eventually learned how to do Facebook ads and whatnot. But at what point, what was that first initial step? Because you can learn something, right? But then you have to apply it. So did you have your own side hustle, your own e-commerce brand to kind of practice on? Or when you had your first client where you have to do Facebook ads, for example, was it kind of like 50-50? You don't know how well you're going to do because it was your first time.
Yeah. So I guess it's a longer process for me to have gotten to be able to do these big ad spends that we do now. It's a little bit of what you said. It was a little bit of having my own stuff, and also a little bit of starting small, right? Mm-hmm. Starting small with these clients. So, starting spending 50, 100, 200, 500, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. As I grew campaigns, I was able to see how things work, specifically with platforms like Facebook. Facebook is a very dynamic platform. It could be very easy to get lost in there. It could be very easy to lose a lot of money really fast, just like it could be very easy to make a lot of money really fast. And it's just understanding the tools. A lot of people don't take the time to understand the tools. They just blame it on the tool not working. Oh, Facebook ads didn't work for my business. Well, that's bullshit, because I've sold all types of stuff on Facebook ads. You would be surprised. Like, Facebook ads do work. Instagram ads do work. All of these platforms, their ads managers work. Otherwise, they wouldn't exist. It's just taking the time to understand these that matters. It's taking the time to speak to other people about their experience and not being prideful, right? Ask for help. Like, hey, take a look at what I have going on. You'd be surprised what a few people could tell you. Somebody in a Facebook group or like a LinkedIn, right? Or on Instagram, or on any of these apps that are out right now, like Clubhouse. Like, Clubhouse is a big app right now where everybody's communicating and giving each other feedback and stuff. And it's just a matter of combining your experience, combining your network, combining side hustles and personal projects you may have. I've had a few e-com stores, got a chance to sell one. That was pretty cool with some buddies of mine. And I've had my own ventures, but ultimately I always ended up helping other people make money. I like the aspect of teaming up with a business, and they control the business and I control the advertising, which ultimately brings in cash flow. I get to do the creative stuff. I get to do the research. I get to see what's working, what's not working, what's resonating with people, what kind of copy works, what kind of photos work, what kind of videos work, all that stuff. I like to do that. And I like to let them run the business. As far as side hustle for me, there's opportunities that have been undeniably important for me to engage with, such as the podcast, right? That's something that you could consider something outside of what I actually do. I have a podcast. I go on other podcasts. I speak about my experiences, but ultimately my main business is marketing. I do marketing. So, as far as side hustle, being able to invest into my own stuff, Hustle Inspires Hustle has become a brand that has been seen by hundreds of millions of people. We're across multiple platforms. We consistently post across almost every single social media platform that you could think about, every single listening app. So what I've been able to do is I've been able to create processes for my brand, systems, standard operating procedures that I'm now able to share with other brands because they've been successful with my brand. So I could actually show people how well I've done either through my personal brand or either through my podcast, either through my agency. And they're able to see that we could either mirror or replicate that process in certain ways to make them money. And I always get to work with different types of people. I've been able to work with apps. I've been able to work with banks. I've been able to work with Adidas, McLaren, Nike. I've had a chance to do collaborations with VaynerMedia. Like, there's been just so many different things that continue to open up doors of different people that I get to meet. And every single time I just build my portfolio and I document what I do. Every single thing, no matter how small or big, I document it so I could actually show what I learned or what I, how I overcame what I overcame. Most of those case studies you can find online with the companies that I've worked with. We document exactly how we helped them grow, what we did and what we didn't do. And that just gives us the tools to then come to somebody later on and tell them, hey, look what we could do for your business. We've done it for ourselves. We've done it for other clients, and now we can do it for you.
So are Facebook ads, the bread and butter for every brand out there to really get them or drive themselves? Because from time and time again, I hear that Google ads or maybe even going on TikTok to sell your products and services are very underrated, but everyone really talks about Facebook ads. So is Facebook ads kind of the bread and butter for you to help other brands really scale?
Not necessarily. It depends. There's many variables and many factors there. Not every industry does well on Facebook ads. There's industries that are highly regulated on Facebook. And it makes it very difficult for them to sell. It makes it very difficult for them to get ads approved. Same thing with Google, Facebook Shop, Google Merchant doesn't accept every single product. They have different policies for different industries, the medical industry, the food industry, all types of industries, right?
Yeah.
So what we see is that we see a lot of clients coming to us with very specific niches like that. Look, I'm in this type of niche. I've been doing SEO for a while because I haven't been able to run Facebook ads, or I haven't been able to do Google ads, or, I don't understand TikTok. And most of the time, they're aware of where they stand, but they're not aware of how much money they could actually make by implementing other techniques. So to answer your question, most of these companies have an omni-channel approach. Some of these companies do very well on Facebook and have a really good YouTube channel, but aren't on TikTok. Some of these companies are doing influencer marketing on TikTok only, but not on Facebook, because they think TikTok works and their audience isn't on Facebook. And then we bring them on Facebook, then we make them $150,000 or $500,000 in Facebook. And then they're like, holy shit, let's put all of our money on Facebook. But then again, Facebook is volatile. So you don't want to have just all your money in Facebook. You want to have your money spread out, not too thin, but you want to have your money kind of spread out when you're doing a digital marketing strategy, because after all, it's technology, it's the internet. Something's going to fail eventually. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Facebook will shut down your ad account one day just because it happens to everybody, sometimes for no reason. And then you can't run ads for weeks or months, or, it just depends, or maybe not ever again with that IP address or with that computer that you have. So then you would wish that you had invested into SEO, or you wish you would have invested into TikTok, or you wish that you would have done a YouTube channel. So what I would say the bread and butter is actually taking the time to understand where your customers are. Don't just assume it's going to work on Facebook because Facebook works for everybody. Kind of take a moment and ask yourself, what am I selling? Okay. Like, what is the age bracket for what I'm selling? What is the gender, right? Like, who's buying this? What's their location, their geographical location? What do they like? What don't they like? What kind of pages do they follow? The Facebook audience insights tool gives you most of this information. Now then you could use SEMrush, Google Trends, Uber Suggest by Neil Patel, all these, whichever ones of these tools to find data. But ultimately it's understanding who these people are and where they're spending most of their time, and then pick 2 to 3 of those platforms and put in some work. At times it could get overwhelming to run social media channels, but it's mostly because you don't create a system. So you're kind of always just like from app to app, like communicating and doing all these things. And there's no actual process that you could monitor. And then you could say, all right, this is exactly how we do it. And these are where our weak points are. And these are how we could address these weak points. So what I love to tell business owners, whether you're in podcasting, whether you want to own an advertising agency, whether you want to sell products online, you're the business owner. And eventually you're going to want the business to operate whether you're there or not, whether because you want to take vacation, whether because you were sick, whether because you wanted to sell the business. And you know, sometimes people want to sell a business, but they can't remove themselves from the business because then the business goes with them. So then they can't sell the business and it becomes an issue, or it brings down the value of how much they could actually make for selling their business. So what I like to say is, like, if you're a business owner or you're a podcaster, you're a freelancer, you're in control of your own time, wake up and look at your daily tasks. And I learned this from one of my mentors, John D. Saunders. And it's, if there's things on that task list that you find yourself doing more than twice, create a process for it. And what does that mean? Get on a Google document and step by step systemize how you do it. Whether it's going into a website, logging into a software and scheduling something, whether it's getting on the phone, whether it's organizing notes or thoughts, break down that process into a Google document, into whatever system you use to store documents, and then record yourself. You could then record yourself on a Loom, or you could record yourself on a Zoom call like this and save the audio, save the video, showing how you're doing it. Like right now, if I shared the screen, I would show you how I do certain systems or processes, and you would be able to save this video and then learn from it. So then what you could do in that perspective is you could actually share that with team members or share that with new people. And it's going to be much easier for you to remove yourself from a task, because now that is easily passed on. Here, look at this video and then do it. If you have any questions, let me know. And then each time you're able to remove yourself more and more from the business, to give yourself time to think about scaling or think about what podcast topics you want to do, right? Because I mean, you're a podcaster, man. You know, it's a lot of work, the editing, the show notes, the landing page if you do them, the graphics. Like for us, for the podcast, like let me break down this process for you. And I don't know it step by step, because at this point I don't do the whole process, but I'm going to go ahead and more or less summarize the process for you. We record, before recording the episode, obviously we have to plan it, get everybody on. They're booked months ahead. The podcast is booked like 6 months ahead. Once they're booked, we have to make sure that we get their assets, their PNG files, their logos, their brand guidelines. And then we got to, after the episode, get the audio engineer to work on the audio. Then the video editor needs to edit the video. Now we need the podcast on audio for all the audio formats. Then that's that. Then we need the podcast on video for multiple video formats: YouTube, TikTok, IGTV, Facebook, multiple different exports for every single one, right? The recap videos with each guest, making sure we grab the best clips of each podcast and make recaps of it so we could use that for promotions. We got to create the landing page with the show notes, with all the linked references that we talked about for each single page. So now I've talked to you about a video editor. I've talked to you about an audio engineer. I've talked to you about a web page builder. I've talked to you about a copywriter. I've talked to you about a graphic designer, and I'm still not done with the podcast process. Once all of that is created, then it has to be distributed in our private community, in our app, in our private Facebook group, on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, every other platform, and every other streaming platform. And then as that's happening, we have a ton of other podcasts that are coming in, and that whole process is moving. So when you start to think about it, that shit could drive you pretty crazy pretty quick. And you could actually find yourself in a loop of constantly doing the same thing over and over and not being able to take yourself out of it. So what ended up happening is, a few months ago, I said, I'm not a full-time podcaster. I own a marketing agency. I can't be working on podcast shit all the time. Let me put the process. So then what I actually did, and what I actually think is going to help a lot of people out, is I dropped the blog that gives you the whole process of how you start a podcast from 0 to 100. So if you just go on Google and you type in how to start a podcast, Alex Quin, you'll see everything there. It's a free resource guide. We're actually dropping a course that's going to be tied to that And part of that course is going to be free for people to access and see how we do these systems. It's not just so you learn how to start a podcast, but see how the system is, see how you break down bullet point by bullet point, line by line, how to create a process so then you could remove yourself from that process and continue to grow the biz.
Yes, at some point, all you have to do is just be the guy or girl just recording, going to the press conferences, doing the interviews, and have everything else kind of automated. But I like what you said. You kind of write everything down, because it'll be kind of hard to just think about the processes. If you write everything down and block diagrams, then you can really just find ways and systems and automate that. So you can put yourself out of that position and just focus on doing the interviews itself.
Yeah, because it could be overwhelming. It's a lot of things to think about when you're recording. Is my mic good? Is the lighting good? Is the angle good? Is the backup audio working?
Not for sure. So wait, going back to, so when you help businesses and business owners out with, their advertisements and marketing, of course, it's beneficial for them to come back and spend more money with you guys, right? But are you saying that you actually tell them like, look, yes, you can have me as a service for months on end, but it's more beneficial for you to learn these systems so you can learn them and apply it without my help?
Yeah, so there's two scenarios there. There's a scenario of the client that wants that, and they just want to bring me on board to consult for them and help them build systems. And then there's the people that they just want to take it care of.
Okay.
And they know that I got it and my team has it, and they're like, Alex, take over. And just like some of them are very transparent. They're like, Alex, like we're not looking to bring you guys on board, but we know you guys know what you're doing. Let us pay you for your time and your process and what you do. Come train our team. And then we do that. We happily do that. We do that with many brands. And we like working that way. We like working with other marketing teams and seeing how they do their stuff. We learn a lot from them and they learn a lot from us.
But wait, is that sustainable though? Because I mean, my first thought is, look, okay, yes, for Q4, you can run ads for 3-4 months, make us mad money. But then once that's done, if you don't have other systems in play, like maybe a blog post to drive SEO, and through the blog post, you can maybe drive sales, for example. If you don't have those systems in play and just rely on Facebook ads, then you're not going to get any revenue. Is that true or not? Can Facebook ads really just give you a boost in sales for the long term, or is it just a bump, for that one quarter?
No, I mean, if you're doing them right, they're going to scale. It's just a matter of finding the right formula. It's either the ad copy or the ad creative or the targeting, or, your offer. Maybe your offer isn't good. Maybe they're not seeing the value in your offer. Maybe it's too cheap. Sometimes it's too cheap and people feel like, it's too cheap. I don't know if I could trust that. Sometimes it's too expensive and then they can't afford it. So then you have to make sure that you're not on a very opposite ends of those spectrums. Facebook is something that will be consistent as long as you stay in compliance. And when you do have hiccups or bumps in the road with Facebook, then like I said, you want to have SEO, or you want to have influencer marketing, or you want to have these other things. But to get to the point of what you were saying, you're probably speaking on clients maybe not being very consistent and maybe doing things maybe only for a few months, or maybe only wanting to try it out for the holidays and then they don't have a system in place. That's why it's very important to also watch the type of people you're working with. As an agency and as a marketing consultant, I'm very picky in who I work with because they could end up wasting my time. The money doesn't really mean anything if they're going to bring me stress and they're going to bring me problems. I could just easily be doing it for somebody else that's actually smart, paying me the same or more, and it's not creating issues for me. So one of the main parts also in that too is when you're a marketer, or when you're anyone for that matter, trying to align with a business, you need to see who's running that business. Are they competent? Are they approachable? Are they somebody that is open to growing and open to constructive criticism, and somebody that's a leader? And if they're not, then you're probably just wasting your time for a dollar. Because there's always going to be somebody there willing to pay you to waste your time. But you got to be willing to put the time to find people that don't want to waste their time or yours, because they're extremely educated and clear on what they need to do. They just need to find somebody they could trust and that could do a good job. And that's it. So it's just about being picky of what kind of clients you work with or what kind of people you align with in business.
Can you tell us how much money in ads have you spent? And can you kind of give us the breakdown? Say if a brand wants to work with you in terms of generating sales, what's the step-by-step process, or how do you reverse engineer what they want and then write down a process to generating sales online?
Well, first of all, I like to figure out what they want. And then I like to figure out why. Because a lot of the times they want the wrong things for the wrong reasons. Oh, or because they think it's going to work. Or a lot of the times companies make decisions like they think that this is their client base and they don't actually look at data. I like to look at data, right? Data speaks. I like to look at people's analytics on their social media, on their website, any platform they have. I like to look at their historical data. Who's engaged with you? Who's purchased from you? What have been the best performing ads that have ever worked? What have been the best performing audiences? What was the best performing copy? What was the best performing video and photo on that copy and on that content? And then really get to understand what's worked for them before. And then understand why they want to take that specific action. Why do they feel it's going to work for them? What are they expecting to get out of it? And when they've done similar things in the past, how have they panned out? And then what I like to do is I like to present them with it. Look, here is pretty much our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And here are some suggestions that I have on how maybe we could do it, that it's not exactly the way that you want to do it, but it could be an alternative. So I like to hear clients out about why they want to do things, while keeping in mind that most of the time they need adjustment on why they think they need to do those things. And they need an outside perspective. Because when you own a business, you're so in the business and you understand so much of it that you think that maybe people see it as clearly as you do. And that's not the case. For the most part, you're all day working on your business, and there's millions of people out there running around who have no fucking clue who you are, and they don't understand anything. So you have to understand that when you're speaking to people that don't know who you are, you have to be very clear. You have to be very to the point. You have to give them a good offer. You have to be approachable. You have to be trustable. You have to have a good record. You have to have good reviews. You just have to look out for those things. Things like customer service, all of those things are very important. It's not just selling, not just scaling Facebook ads. You could scale the shit out of a Facebook ads campaign and it could do extremely well. But if your customer service sucks, or your shipping department sucks, everybody got their orders late, now you got a bunch of refunds, right? Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about refunds. Nobody talks about pissed off customers. Nobody talks about slow response times for your customers. That's important because that ultimately dictates how your business is going to grow. What are people saying about you? If they're trusting you, then other people are trusting you. And then you have consistent ads. It's not solely based on performance, but it's also based on word of mouth and brand equity. And I think that that's often overlooked. And that's what drives success to most of the campaigns that we work on or that we oversee.
Okay. So you kind of reverse engineer by asking them what's their why, and say they want to go through an advertisement campaign. Now, what's the next step? How do you decide which platform you ought to use? Either you do a YouTube pre-roll or a podcast pre-roll, Facebook ads, Google ads. Like, how do you decide on that factor?
There's two, I guess there would be two answers to that question. First answer would be what we just discussed, which would be figuring out what their audience is, where they really are. And then after that would be budget, right? Because a lot of people say, oh, well, I want to advertise everywhere. Oh, fantastic. You want to advertise everywhere. How much do you have to spend? Oh, well, I only have, and then you fall into that conversation. So, I mean, you could want to advertise everywhere, but if you can't, then you can't. So that I look at that. I sit down with them. I'm like, all right, why do you want to advertise on TikTok? Or why do you want to advertise on Instagram? Well, because, I've heard. Okay, well, you've heard. That's great. Have you done it before? Do you have any data to look at? No, I have absolutely nothing. Okay. Well, what's working already? Well, Facebook is working. Okay. Let's look at Facebook. Let's make sure, let's say that we have a general contractor, right, that does roofs. And this general contractor spends $10,000 a month on Facebook ads. And he's convinced that if he switches over to YouTube right away, that he's going to see astronomical results because somebody told him it was going great. But he hasn't taken the time to properly nurture his Facebook. He's spending $10,000 a month on his Facebook ads campaign, and he's seeing a return of $30,000, which is roughly about 2 to 3 roofs. For the most part, 2 roofs. So he's spending $10,000 to get 2 clients a month. So he's kind of more or less breaking even, right? His return on ad spend is 2.0. For every 10,000 he spends, he gets 20,000, 1 to 2, right? 2.0. What he's not realizing is that he could actually audit his current ads find all the winning actions, find all the right sets of ad copy and formulas and photos and videos, and optimize that 10,000 to reach 40, 50,000 for him. Once he gets that 40, 50,000 where he has additional money, then he could invest probably 3,000, 4,000 a month on SEO. And then what happens on SEO? SEO, you don't need ad spend. So now he finds himself doing $50,000 a month on Facebook ads, right? And after 3 months, potentially doing another $30,000, $40,000 on SEO, right? Now, when he's doing $20,000, $30,000 on SEO, he could start getting creative about his YouTube content, right? Because why? Because his YouTube content can now be tied to his landing pages, which helps his SEO. And since he starts creating his YouTube content, and his YouTube content is going to be video content, he can now share that content on Facebook ads, which is going to further help his Facebook ads. So what I like to do is I like to break down what's working, what's not working. How can we slowly build this and build more legs to this thing as we grow without adding a lot of risk to the growth? Because you could easily implode a company. A lot of people come to us and they're like, sometimes, I guess, skeptical about marketing because they've had probably a bad experience before, and they don't necessarily take seriously when they are told, be careful because a lot of business might come in, and if you're not ready, you'll implode. If you're not ready in your systems, like we were saying before, if your systems aren't good, if your customer service and your shipping isn't fast, then what are we doing here? So that's important, understanding all of those elements. And if you keep an eye out on all of those elements and you slowly scale, what we like to do is we like to scale our campaigns between 15 and 25% a day. So if we start spending $100, $200, $300 a day on a Facebook ads campaign, we monitor that campaign over 3 to 4 days. Depending on how it's doing, we either scale it up, keep it the same, or scale it down. And we look at different data. If it's an e-com store, we look at click-through rates. We look at CPMs. We look at add to cart rates, view content to add to cart rates, to initiate checkout rates, to purchase rates. We look at absolutely every single metric that we could look at to make sure that we could keep those KPIs. Keeping those KPIs important. Is the frequency going up, right? How's the reach? How's the impressions? How many people are saving the posts? If we look at different metrics depending on the business. If it's a lead-based business, you're going to be looking at different metrics because lead-based businesses maybe don't have an add to cart or initiate checkout system. So then you got to look at a view content and lead or appointment booked. How is that working? How does that system work? So it just, again, it goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of the conversation, time. Only time will give you the versatility and the opportunity to sit down with a business owner and maybe not have the entire campaign, but just be able to extract a few bits of information from him or her and be able to decide what could be the next best step or in which direction to take the conversation. I like to stay away from the usual agency packages where it's like, hey, this is how much you charge. This is what we could do for you. The way I do business and the way I've seen success for my clients has been to just approach each person differently. Sit down with them and don't treat them like a number, treat them like a person, which is what they are, and understand their business because it's not exactly built like the last one you worked with. So maybe that system you built for that one doesn't work. So it's just a matter of having flexibility and taking the time to fully understand your client and what they do. A lot of the times clients come to us for products or services that we have no idea how they work. Like one of the most recent clients was Asphalt Kingdom for us as an agency. And it was a huge challenge for us because they sell asphalt maintenance equipment. They sell massive machines to maintain asphalt in parking lots, in streets. They sell materials like crack filler and all types of stuff that we didn't even understand how they worked or how you operate it. And to be able to market something, you have to understand it. So as an agency, we had to go to 3 months of training almost of understanding how these products worked, what kind of people bought these products, what drew them to buy these products. So we know how to talk to them in the copy, in the advertising and the videos and everything that we did. So they understood that professionals were speaking to them, right? So that's another very important thing, just understanding and studying what you're selling and really understanding it. Like
Mm-hmm.
really understanding it. Like if one of those customers that saw your ad were to ask you a question, you should be able to answer all of them. And if you're not able to answer all those questions, you're probably not running a good ad or a
Something
set
that
of ads.
something that I really got from that was that, if you're running an ad, say Facebook ads, you don't want to move on to the next thing because it's cool. You really want to squeeze as much juice out of that orange to optimize it and really scale from that point of view. Because of course, like you said in your example, the guy wanted to go from Facebook ads to YouTube, but he could have gone from 20,000 to 40,000 if he really optimized it. So point is, maybe you should focus on just one or two platforms, mainly just one, I think. And, try to optimize that as best as possible before you go to other channels. Because I guess once you start having some cash flow, then you can invest in, SEO, blogs and other marketing platforms, right? But
Yeah.
if you're just a beginner, you think that's the strategy, maybe just focus on one ad platform, see what works best for you, because it could be very overwhelming to do a million things at once.
Yeah. If you're a beginner, depending on your industry, like for example, I talk to people in the CBD space a lot. They have a lot of issues advertising. I mean, it's clear.
Mhm.
SEO is a big thing for CBD. If you're strapped for cash and you want to do well, like, and you don't want to spend a lot of money, and you're in the CBD space or a similar space where a lot of people are Googling what you do, learn SEO. And then once you learn it, hire somebody to do it for you, and at least you know how to manage them. There's a lot of great people overseas that'll manage your SEO campaigns for small amounts of money. You just have to know what they're doing. So again, this is the same for Facebook. You could hire somebody to help you and just tell them what you need them to do for you, and then you save a lot of money because you actually put the campaign together yourself. Like, it just depends on the business that you're starting. If you're in the CBD space, great SEO. If you're selling T-shirts online, maybe TikTok influencer marketing, and you get sales going super fast. Like, because let's say you're starting Facebook ads, right? And you want to sell T-shirts. You're going to have to build an audience. You're going to have to people really like your brand before you start seeing a significant amount of purchases, which could at that point make or break your business. But if you find on any platform, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever, depending on your business, influencers that could back your product, you could see a wave of sales come in overnight. Just like you can't. Maybe the influencer sucked and they didn't give you sales, or maybe they were really good. So I like to play it safe in certain perspectives, depending on what the client is doing or depending on what business I'm looking at. Influencer marketing could work literally overnight. Facebook ads could also start working pretty quick, but could require a lot of knowledge. It can't be that difficult for somebody just getting started to locate a niche on TikTok and find the top influencers, offer them to post, and then have a web page ready to receive all that traffic with a coupon code or something. It's not that difficult, and it's just, you're gonna find out overnight if it worked or not. You're not gonna have to wait months to see if the campaign worked. It's literally the 24 hours, 48 hours when that post is first up, you'll see if it was successful or not.
So from your experience, do you see more success in actual brands, or like, for example, if you take a drop shipping store where they only have maybe a Facebook page and an Instagram page and they start from scratch and they rely on ads, with actual brands, maybe they create a lot of content. They already have a fan base. And of course, with the ads on top of that, well, they have a model where they have content, they already have an audience, and from that audience, they can really leverage that to sell their products or services. Whereas if you're a drop shipping store starting from zero, you have no audience, you're going to have to advertise first and then build your audience, right? So my question is there a better model or a better strategy in terms of running ads to build up an audience and then marketing to them? Or is it better to market first and then build up an audience? If that makes sense.
Well, I like to indoctrinate and educate people first before I pitch them. I just think that's the way to go. Give them value, educate them, teach them the best practices, and then offer them a deal. So it's pretty much laying down the seeds, right? That's just the way I do things, and that's just the way that it usually goes when I start up a brand. I like to get them to understand. Like this last month we acquired a new client that was brand new, an e-com store, and we had to start from scratch, no audience, no nothing. So we went straight direct response marketing, but we made sure that the content we distributed was very informative. So it wasn't just buy, sale. It's just like, hey, look, this is what you could get. These are the benefits. These are the features. Like, this is how you could benefit from being a consumer of this product. Here's what's worked in the past. Here's what hasn't. And then that builds audiences too, because if you're being informative about what you're selling, that's usually what people are looking for. If people are coming to your product or service, is because maybe they have an issue. Most of the time they have an issue, and your product or service solves that issue. And they just want to know that your product or service will solve that issue. So most of the time they're going to have questions. And if your ads is all the publicity you do answers questions for people, it makes them easier to purchase from you, which raises your conversion rates and raises the way people perceive your brand. So yeah, that's just my spiel on that.
Okay. So we said from the beginning, you got to know your why, and then you pick the platform to which to advertise. Now, next is the creative, right? Or the copy, or really the creative. And in your experience, you said that you were working with that one company that was working with asphalt products and whatnot.
Yeah.
How do you create, ad creatives or static images for that? Especially if it's a huge product. Do you have to travel and go to that site, or do they already have content for you guys to really edit?
It's always different. Some clients have great content teams. Some clients hate content and don't even do content. And then they expect you to make the money with no content. It's up to you to tell them, okay, I need content and I need it now so I can make you more money. Right? Like we were talking about the 10,000 guy that makes 20,000 on Facebook ads. That's the guy that doesn't want to shoot videos.
So your work is very dynamic then. You're very dynamic because you have to ask all these questions. It's not like, okay, here's the money, make me money. It's like, it's a conversation. You both have to work it out and see if your client is willing to help you out and see if it'll work out in the end. Right.
That's what we're known for here.
Okay.
We're known for, you call them and they figure it out. There's other agencies that are niche and they have a process that they follow, and that's the process. And there's a certain amount of money you pay them and they do great. Don't get me wrong. Like there's great agencies that have different models than we do, but that's just the way that we do our model. And that's the way that we found success. People come to us with humongous problems, and sometimes they take a week or 2 weeks. Sometimes they take 2 months to figure out, but we solve those problems and we make them money. But they have, like, it's a matter of trust. It's a partnership, right? Like,
yeah,
you're bringing me your biggest problems. You're bringing me your biggest weaknesses. I have to make strengths out of those weaknesses. It's a lot of vulnerability there and a lot of space for making errors that can't be made. And it's a lot of trust. So like I was saying before, you can't just work with anyone. Like you got to really make sure that person is educated, because you're going to be giving them your time. They're going to be giving you their money. It's a very intimate thing, and it's a very trust-based thing for somebody to hand over a ton of cash to you. And on top of that, trust you with their business. It's like, here's my money, which I worked super hard for. And here's my business, which is I'll be destroyed without it. Like, do something with it. And it's like, it's a big responsibility. So it's just like, that's why I have a million questions. That's why you see me saying all these things, because those questions need to be answered. Like if you're going to do somebody's marketing, you need to know everything about them. Like my clients, I know how much money they make, how much they profit on each product they sell. A lot of clients don't want to share that with me. That's fine. I can still make the money. But if they really want me to make the money, if I know their margins, I know what sales I could and can't do. I know how much I could push it without affecting them, right? If I know that hoodie you're wearing right now, if I know you sell it for 100, right? And I know that you get it for $10, I know you have a $90 margin on that hoodie. I know what kind of damage I could do on Facebook ads. I know how much I could potentially spend per acquisition. But if you sell that hoodie for $100 and I'm your marketer and you're like, oh yeah, we sell this hoodie for $100. And I'm like, all right, so like, what do our numbers look like? And you try to be like, yeah, no, it's really private company info and whatever. Like maybe it is, but then you got to understand that I don't have all the context. And if I don't have all the context, we're not on the same page. So I like to tell that to my customers because, for example, think about a Black Friday. Let's say you have that hoodie you're wearing right now, or this hoodie I'm wearing right now, and it's Black Friday, and we're selling it for $100, right? But we get it for $50. It costs us $50 to make this hoodie. So now it's Black Friday, and everybody's offering 50% off. And our hoodie, obviously, we want it to be 50% off too, maybe, or even 40. So now that means that by the time we take the percentage off, plus the cost to advertise, plus the cost to ship, we actually lost money on every hoodie we sold. Right? So then that takes several things into question. Where are we getting our products? Are they being manufactured? How much are we paying for them? What is the market value for this product? Is this product priced correctly? A lot of the times people come to us and their products aren't correctly priced. They're either overpriced or extremely underpriced. And there could actually be a very fair deal that you could find to where they could make better money. So if I'm able to find out these things after 6 months of me working with somebody, I've pretty much helped them shift every aspect of their business to where they may be spending the same amount of money they were spending before on ads. They may be making quadruple, and then on top of that, having way higher margins. So it's completely transformative at that point, because at that point we get to be really creative and say, all right, well, there's a ton of extra profits left over. Are we going to go to YouTube? Now we're ready to go to YouTube. So it's just a matter of just breaking every single thing down and really understanding and being transparent with everyone, the client, the business owner, the partner, the collaborator. If they're in charge of making you money, make sure they understand the flow and make sure they have the right data to help you out.
Okay. So in your agency, I feel for a lot of agencies, like you said, it can be very cookie cutter like. They already have systems, they give you the money, you make the money, and that's really about it. But since your line of business, your agency is very, very dynamic, you have to really deep dive with each individual client. Now, how do you scale the unscalable, or is it your intentions or your ambition to really work or have a long-term project with a client instead of having multiple clients at a time and really maximize their efforts to make as much money as possible?
Well, that's also a question that takes us back to the type of people you choose to work with. As a marketing agency owner, I've seen a lot. I've seen clients that have made a ton of money with me and continue to scale the business and everything's great. And I've seen clients that start making money they weren't making before and start blowing their money on dumb shit. And they don't spend it on the business. So then now you don't have a long-term client, and you spend the last 6 months figuring out problems for them. And now they're buying Gucci belts and Gucci slides and just doing a bunch of unnecessary shit that they should be investing into the business, because it's very premature to start balling out. So then that taints the relationship, because, now that can't be a long-term client. That's a clown right there. Like, that's somebody you can't, you get what I'm saying? That the person that you just made them $100,000, and then the next month they tell you that they don't have money to advertise, but then they just walked in with a brand new Rolex. That happens. And no, it's funny, but that happens. And if you're in this industry, you have to look out for yourself for not wasting your time, because a lot of people come to you because they know that you have talent and they know that you can make them money and they know that you'll take charge of what you're doing. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, they're not going to be wise in how they reinvest that money. So it ruins the longevity of the working relationship and ultimately wastes your time, because I'm not in it to make money with you for 3 months. It's a waste of my time. I could just do a consulting deal with you for that and just make the money up front. And then you could do it yourself. If I'm going to do the work for you, I want to take this with you all the way to the top, right? With my whole team. You guys probably saw Michelle back there earlier. That's the marketing director here at UADV. All of us are like that, wherever we are, whatever we do, we try to really understand the client, the people that we're working with, and how we could help them. We really understand that, then we could actually make them money. And there's no need to waste people's time. Our model basically works this way. If we make you money, you continue to hire us. If you're not making money with us, don't pay us the next month's retainer to renew. And that's it. Mm-hmm. It's as easy as that. And as long as we continue with that model where both sides of the party are accountable for their actions, then things work. But if you're working with business owners who are not accountable for their actions and all they do is get in your way, and then they tell you that you're not making them money, then you know that you got to find somebody else to work with. Okay.
So you actually think long-term, it's not just a one and done thing. You want to be there for as long as possible and create all these relationships with different brands.
Yeah, man. If I wanted to do the one and done thing, I would just go into my Instagram direct message and choose one of the many people that are offering me to do something with their business. It's not about that. Mm-hmm.
So you denied businesses before then, right?
I have to, man. Otherwise I wouldn't even have time to sleep, because I chose to put out content everywhere, which means that a ton of people are going to hit me up. Thankfully, I love that. I love working with people. And most of the time that these people hit me up and I can't work with them, or maybe they can't afford my rates, I help them anyways. Right. I figure out a way. I have a ton of content online. I send them a podcast. I send them a blog. I connect them with somebody that's really good. I'll jump on a Zoom call with them and I'll give them a quick consultation to help them out, 15, 20 minutes. I try to figure out a way to help out while understanding that there's only certain types of people I could work with, which requires me to say no more than I say yes. And sometimes it's difficult for me to do that. Sometimes it's hard for me to turn something away because either the money looked nice or because, I genuinely thought maybe there could have been something there, but you just can't ignore the red flags and you got to stay consistent to your values and your business and the type of people and the type of business deals that you want to get into.
Mm-hmm. So as a business owner, agency owner, how important is it to have a personal brand and have these other platforms like your podcast to really, provide more value and maybe get indirect sales from that? Because not every business owner has that.
I think it's imperative that if you own a marketing agency that you work on your personal brand. Not because it won't work unless you have a personal brand, but because people trust people, right? People like people and people could relate to people. But like, look at that logo right here. It says UADV on it.
Mm-hmm.
It stands for a brand, but I'm speaking for that brand, right? That logo could have been up there this whole time, but people are going to remember the things that I said, not the logo that got slapped on everything, right? And that's what we must understand. Who is communicating for your brand? Who is communicating for your brand and how are they reflecting the values of your brand? And then once reflecting those values, how are those values resonating with people in the community that purchase your products or services and share those values? And how are they perceiving your brand? And how are they then building trust for your brand? Most of the time, you're going to have to need a person to connect with people. That's why the biggest companies in the world pay huge endorsements to bring human beings to voice their values to then sell. So if you don't want to have a big personal brand, you're going to have to figure out one way to get the humanity of your brand across to your potential audience, whether it's through your staff, whether it's getting testimonial videos of your clients talking about how great you are and the results that you've driven for them. If you don't want to be out there, but people are speaking about you, that's also good too. If people are speaking about how good you are, that speaks a lot. If you're speaking about your experience and you actually show that you have knowledge, then that will help as well. So to answer your question, if you own a marketing agency, you got to try your best to break out of your shell and work on a personal brand. For many years, I was behind the scenes and I didn't want anybody to know who I was. For many years, people only knew that name you see right there on the screen, UADV, and had no idea who the people behind it were. They thought it was this company owned by like these 30 and 40-year-olds. And lo and behold, it was a 22, 23-year-old kid. And I kept it behind the scenes like that for a while because I felt like at times maybe my age would get in the way of the certain deals that I wanted to close. But then it just became inevitable. Like then it was just like people wanted to know who was doing these campaigns. People wanted to know who worked on this. People needed to know. And it's like I became a common denominator in a bunch of conversations that eventually I couldn't keep that door shut. Yeah. It was like the world was kicking it down. And that's when we started the podcast. And that's when we started, doing all these things. That's when we started actually putting a team together for my personal brand and, branding it and making sure that everything was good. Doing personal brand deals. I've been able to do some really cool stuff. I've done stuff with HubSpot, McLaren. I've done stuff with VaynerMedia, Privé, Revo, Tile. There's a bunch of brands. I'm sure I'm missing some brands, but like I've been able to do some really cool things just because I worked on my personal brand. And in doing that, I connected with big business owners that respected what I did. And guess what? They own businesses. And guess what? Their businesses need marketing, right? So ultimately, the biggest money maker in our agency is my personal brand, right? We have a successful sales team that has an extremely good sales process. We have my personal brand. We have a podcast. We have many ways to get noticed online, but to this day, the most profitable asset that we have towards bringing in new business is myself. Connecting with other people as a person. And I just haven't seen a higher return on investment.
So at the end of the day, I mean, not only can you provide value, but you're actually marketing yourself and of course your UADV at the end of the day.
Correct. We're a collective, we're a group of professionals, we're a group of people who've been doing this for a very long time with a really cool track record. And for the most part, people only see me, right? Because I'm always out here like talking and on stages and on podcasts, but there's a lot to it. You saw Michelle walking around before we started the podcast, probably saw her peeking in and out behind the blue screen. Sometimes people forget that there's a whole team, like people working on this. Jonah, like Jen, all the people from the team, like Gio, Kevin, like all these people that worked on different things and also have their own things going on, but contribute something towards our team and are part of a bigger collective. Like it's not just me. It's all about your tribe. And most businesses are that way. Sometimes maybe you own a business and you only have yourself, or maybe a partner, or maybe one employee or one assistant or one virtual assistant helping you, and it doesn't feel like a team. But if you take a moment to step back and look at all the actual people that are contributing towards your business and like putting little pieces and helping you, you got a community of people helping you out. Maybe when you started your podcast, you didn't have a ton of listeners, but you had friends that would share it, and you had family members that maybe put it on Facebook, and you have friends maybe share the story for you. Those people are all part of your business. Like all my followers are part of my business. I respect the shit out of my followers. I go above and beyond to make sure that everything that we do is like pitch perfect. Like the web pages, the grammar, the copy, the graphic design. Like I want people to read things and just like love the experience and just feel like, yes, like these people get it. These people do it right. And you have to do that, right? If you have to do that, if you're expecting quality clients, and you have to do that if you're expecting like high returns on investments. You have to invest into your content, into your personal brand, into educating your customers, into connecting with your customers, figuring out what their pain points are and how you could do a better job. It all plays a role. And if you take everything that we've talked about over the last hour and you add it up, it ultimately adds up to ask the right questions, get in the right rooms with the right people, consume proper content related to your business, educate yourself, take a course, find a mastermind group, find an event, go to that event, understand the business, understand your customer, and continue to ask questions so you can continue to optimize. The industry changes. Blockbuster thought that Netflix wouldn't take over because they didn't think that people's behaviors would change about how they would actually consume content. The music industry changed overnight when Steve Jobs introduced iTunes and people stopped paying $10, $15 for a CD and started paying $1 per track. That was revolutionary in the music industry and nobody wanted to accept it. And then it switched from that to streaming. Then streaming took over and now people didn't get paid $10 per album or didn't get paid $1 per song download. Now they're getting paid cents on the dollar per stream. So things keep moving and evolving. And unless you're asking questions and evolving with things, then you're going to phase out. And ultimately, that's how people end up losing their business or losing revenue or not being consistent, which is not asking questions. You always got to ask questions. You can't assume that you're right all the time.
Yeah, and I think being in the marketing space, in your industry, same thing applies because marketing is that very dynamic. Things change. Might have a new trend that you have to follow. Of course, TikTok and whatnot. Things are very, very dynamic in terms of marketing. So definitely got to respect that.
Yep.
So Alex, I don't want to take too much of your time here. So if people want to learn more about you, learn more about marketing, what are some resources or, where can they check you out, including your podcast?
I have a ton of cool things, man. And ultimately, and just to clarify, my goal here is to share my experience. I've had a really good time advertising. I feel very blessed to be able to do the things that I've been able to do. I'm not the richest guy in the world. I'm not the poorest guy in the world, but I'm able to do the things that I like. And I've been able to travel the world and I've been able to connect with great people and I've been able to have a really good team. And that's very important for me. So what I like to do on social media is I like to share that experience. It helps me build my portfolio and it also helps me find other talent. It also helps me connect with other people. So if you want to find me and you want to learn from me, from my agency, from my colleagues, all this content that we put together isn't done just by me. It's done by a group of professionals that have been working in the industry for a decade. And every piece of content that I put out isn't Alex Quin putting it out. It's a marketing agency full of professionals with years of experience putting this together for people to learn. We have the podcast with over 55 episodes talking about a range of topics in business development and marketing. We have a very, very informative blog talking about business, marketing, tools, channels that you could use, free, podcast free, blog free. We also have a private community. We have an app. If you go to hustleinspireshustle.com/app, APP, you're going to be able to see our app, and you're going to be able to see what we have in that app. And what's in that app is a ton of free material, a ton of courses, a ton of things that people could consume. If they can't afford it, we have a ton of free material you can consume. If you're ready to take the next step, we also have paid material. We also have ourselves as consultants. So if you want to connect with us, connect with me on Instagram, Alex Quin. That's ALEXQUIN. You can find me on TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, any other platforms. You can find me on alexquin.com, hustleinspireshustle.com, or just follow Hustle Inspires Hustle on any digital platform. We're literally everywhere. If we're not somewhere and you see that we're not on it, shoot us a DM somewhere and let us know that we're missing out. But for the most part, we're everywhere and we're very active. Our app community is very cool because there's a bunch of business owners and marketers in there, and they ask questions and they connect with each other. And then we just have discussions and we do it privately. So it's very cool. There's a space and room for entrepreneurs out there. It doesn't really have to be lonely. It doesn't have to be that difficult. There's other people that are going to help you out. There's like a big brother, big sister out there that's like looking out. Because we have that. I have a ton of people that look out for me in ways that I can't even think of how I can repay them. And ultimately, our systems are just a means of passing that on. So we're happy to help. If you're listening to this and you're a young business owner and you need help, continue to listen to this podcast. Continue to listen to Hustle Inspires Hustle. Get that bag live. Continue to consume content like this. Join us on our community and just continue to push forward. Because if you don't go forward, you're falling behind, and you may not win every day, and every day might not be perfect, and your living conditions might not be ideal, and maybe people aren't supporting you, or maybe people don't believe in you or believe in your vision or think you're crazy or think that you're never going to make it. But as long as you understand that you really can, and like you believe in yourself, that's ultimately the only thing you're going to need. Then people will start believing in you, and that's when you'll start attracting that audience of loyalists that are going to spend money with your brand or continue to support it.
For sure, man. And I think all those resources I'm going to put in the show notes, but point is, all the information's online. You have to ask the right questions and make the right plays. It can be 1 or 2 plays, a million plays. All you have to do is just, ask the right questions, take action. And I think you can formulate a plan to be very successful.
Absolutely, man.
So Alex, bro, it was definitely a pleasure. And of course I'm at all those links, the hashtags and the social links, the podcast, your website, all on the show notes. Anyone can click on that, learn about you, learn about marketing and whatnot. And yeah, bro, it was definitely a pleasure.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you for having me on, man. I appreciate your time. Let me know when everything's ready to go.